It is important to identify the species that have similarities to each other, but they can be very different. An example of this is the black widow spider and the false black widow spider. They can be told apart because the black widow has a red hourglass on its abdomen. They are also from different genuses. The black widow comes from the Latrodextrus genus, which means venomous spider, whereas the false one does not. Another example of this is the coral snake and the milk snake. The coral snake is venomous, which can be told by the red on yellow stripes, but the milk snake, because it has red on black stripes, it is not venomous. It is important to be able to tell the difference between an endangered species and a non-endangered species, as the endangered species must be protected and not killed. An example of this is the leopard and the jaguar. The jaguar is more endangered, so must be told apart. They can be told apart by the filled-in rosettes on the jaguar, which are not filled in on the leopard. The leopard's Latin name is Panthera pardus, which means spotted panther, whereas the jaguar's Latin name is Panthera onca, which means panther with the hooked claws.
The Five Kingdoms system can give a lot of information on the animal by the classification groups used. For example, if an animal is a mammal, it is classified under the phylum of Mammalia, meaning the animal lactates and most commonly produces live young. Another example is that it can tell you whether the animal is a carnivore, as it will be classed under the order of Carnivora.
If you have gone out to update a population survey that someone else previously has done, it would be unlikely that they would use common names, as they would need to be specific, and you cannot do this by just saying there are 100 lemurs in this area. You need to use Latin names because specifics are important. It also helps to know this if you are recording data. It's hard to be specific when things are flying past you, but if you knew the whole classification from kingdom to species and know what each means, will help you point out the specific species.
Latin names can tell you a lot about what lineage an animal has. For example, the Canis lupus familiaris, being the dog, shows that it is linked and descended from the Canis lupus lupus, that is the wolf. This can help with recognising so-called abnormal behaviour in dogs, for example food possession. Wolves did it to protect the kill they got, and also to ensure that they got the largest amount. Hence why you see dogs growl at other dogs, or even humans, when they are eating and someone else is in close proximity. A Latin name is important as it is universal. For example, if you go to France and say, "that's a dog," they won't have a clue what you're going on about, because in France, dog is chien. However, if you spoke to another scientist or even veterinary in any other country and said that a dog is a Canis familiaris, then they would understand. In some countries there are several different common names for an animal. Latin names avoid the confusion. For example, in Canada and North America, the puma has about 4 different names, including mountain lion, mountain cat, cougar and puma.
So why would you like to be in a managerial position?
Because it'll get me truckloads of cash.
I see. Well, can you tell me what you know about this animal?
Oh, it's a dog. I had one when I was a kid. Big fluffy thing. It was just brilliant.
So why would you like the managerial position?
Well, because I feel I have experience in the field and a wide knowledge on animals.
Okay, what can you tell me about this animal?
Oh, that's a Canis lupus familiaris, otherwise known as a Canis familiaris, depending on where you come from, because it can change. But the Canis lupus part explains that it's descended from a wolf, which shows various different behaviours, including food possession and things like that. It also shows how you can classify them under the order of Carnivora, because they're carnivores, but sometimes they're omnivores just by the way that we've bred them.
Another example of why taxonomy is important is that some species have the same common name as they do Latin name. For example, the boa constrictor, where its Latin name and common name is both boa constrictor. That's how you know them. It's the same for lynx and hippopotamus. Although hippopotamus is hippopotamus amphibious, it just means it lives on land and water. So the same is for hippopotamus. As everybody knows, a hippo is hippopotamus. Another example of why taxonomy is important, including Latin names, is the fact that some species don't actually have a normal name, like a common name. Things like dogs obviously have a common name, but some things like deep-sea fish or some rare species do only have Latin names, and so are only classified under those names. So if you tried to search for some kind of deep sea fish or a rare species that's maybe going endangered or maybe going extinct, then you wouldn't be able to find it under a common name. You'd have to search for it with a Latin name. They have quite a lot of deep sea fish, or in general quite a lot of fish don't have a common name, on the ICUN red list for a lot of endangered species, especially a few that are in this country.